Hello, everyone. I'm Diane Broussard, and I'm coming to you live from the Diamond Springs Center here in Diamond Springs. I previously indicated that I was starting a new show called What's Your Story? And that really entails the story of ordinary human beings like myself who have come to a point in their lives where they want to know more, where they have decided to move outside of that box we've all been in for so long, where the questions are coming to them of what really is going on here in this timeline on this Earth space, and asking questions within themselves and not being satisfied with the answers that they're getting from other people, the media, teachers, even parents. There's more to me than what I imagine. So, what I'm doing right now is the first story will be my story. And I have created, well, I have here, not necessarily personally created, but created 10 questions which I will be asking myself and each and every one who decides to join and become part of What's Your Story. These are questions that I've not rehearsed and nobody else could, because I really want everyone to go deep inside themselves to express to others what my story is and how I began, because there is so many people here that come to my center that are confused, that don't know what is going on with me. Why am I questioning things? Why am I saying that's not right for me anymore? And there's many people that are asking those questions now, but don't have a place to reveal them, to come into a community that can comfort them, that understands them. And so I've created this show basically so that we can all hear everyone's story and understand that we're very much alike. And even though of these 10 questions here, they will all be answered differently, they were all pertaining to the same thing. What's my story? Who am I? And how am I going to find that? What is what is the unique difference between me and everyone else? And is that okay? Am I okay? All right, so first question on my list here, right here it is. How did your story begin? What was the first moment you felt something shift spiritually, even if you didn't have words for it yet? For myself, I can say I've always been spiritual in some nature. I've always had a very close relationship with God, my angels, and the saints. I was raised Catholic, but I was always very alone my entire lifetime, very much alone. So the only friends I truly, really had were spiritual friends. However, I was also raised at a time where that was what you had, what you heard, what everyone told you you had. And for me, it wasn't enough. I knew it wasn't enough. There did come a time in my life, basically, and it was probably the time that I divorced my first husband. Because with that divorce, as much as I loved him and always loved him until he died, he's the father of three of my children. It was a time for me to be free. And in that freedom, I was able to search even deeper into those questions that were haunting me. Who am I? What is going on here on the earth? And I knew there was much more than I was being told, and I wanted to know that. I guess I needed that freedom to be able to explore different avenues for myself. And so that goes to the second question. Was there a turning point or an awakening experience that changed everything for you? Maybe a dream, maybe a breakdown, a sacred book, or an encounter with a certain person that triggered something deep within your soul. And this is my story, which is probably a little bit and very much unique. I am a real estate agent, and one day I was sitting at an open house with nothing to do. Nobody was coming by, and there was a book open on the desk, on the coffee table there in front of me, and that book was labeled Medicine Woman. And it was an amazing book written by an amazing shaman teacher named Lynn Andrews. I opened up that book and started reading, and I was just sucked right into it, sucked right into the indigenous ways of the Native Americans and indigenous women all around the earth. And I was just totally, totally enthralled and amazed. I read every book that Lynn wrote. I went down to Los Angeles and met her personally. She later became a personal friend of mine. I graduated from her 4-year shamanic training school, and I learned to be free. I learned what it was like to travel to different universes, to become a shapeshifter, so to speak, to know that I was more than just this human body, that I was an experience and that I was here for a purpose. It was an amazing time for me, literally. And from there, I went into other shamanic cultures and I started a drumming school. I was at I was in Los Angeles at a very large expo at some point, and my mentor Lynn was up on the stage looking at all of us that were sitting down below the audience, and she stood there and she took her finger and she pointed and she said, "You need to start a drumming circle in Placerville." And I looked around the room and I looked around myself and I went, "Whoa, that can't be me. What can I do?" I know nothing about starting a community, starting a circle, doing any of this stuff. And yet those words haunted me because when I did finally come back from Los Angeles to Placerville, all of a sudden I started meeting people, like-minded people, which I had never seen there before. And indeed, it was that I searched out another shaman and I did start a drumming circle in Placerville. And from there, my story continues, which leads us to question number 3. What have you had to let go of in order to step onto your soul path? For me, I can say that was, indeed very difficult because I let go of my husband. I raised my children and walked into a path on my own once they were off to college and did start a drumming circle, started doing things on my own, which I'm sure this would have never happened if I had stayed where I was. I would have never started this drumming school, never gone out and ventured into the new experiences that I did. So, question number 4, have you ever doubted your path or felt like giving up? What helped you stay or return? Well, yeah, I did. It was very lonely out there because my family didn't understand. What are you doing? You're out here doing a drum circle. You're doing things that are taking you away from your family, so to speak, because I then felt that I had an obligation to others. And from this period also, I went from having a drum circle in Placerville to actually creating a center here on my property. And that is a story in itself, believe me, because it was stick by stick, dime by dime, and every penny that I had went into creating this center that I am in now that you see me in. And what kept me going here? There was something deep within my heart and my soul that said, this is what you're here for. You're here to offer a sanctuary for others. And yes, it gets lonely. And yes, there were times when I said, maybe I could just be retired and I could just do nothing. But no, that wouldn't work for me. There was too many, the universe was poking me in many different directions, and I have gone in many different directions since this started. And it continues because, like I say, once you get on this escalator to higher knowledge and to higher wisdom, you realize there is so much more out there. And for me, yeah, I want to know what it is. It's exciting. With every step is another step, is another step, and another question is answered, and there is another question for me. And I know there is others too that are longing to have questions answered, which will lead to another and another and another. We are so much more than we ever thought we could be. And I'm here to give you my story of, yeah, it really is true. So let's go on now to question number 5. Who or what has been a guiding presence for you, seen or unseen? Teachers, ancestors, angels, and dreams, all of the above for me. Indeed, when I started on my shamanic journey, I met ancient ancestors. And from there, I have met many ancestors, from angels to guides to cosmic beings, one step leading to the other. I have studied many different shamanic cultures. I am a shamanic practitioner. And all of that was very beautiful for me. But I remember one time I was drawn to go to a shamanic study in Mount Shasta, and I'd never been there before. So I'm driving up to Mount Shasta, and I go around a corner, and all of a sudden, this big mountain loomed up in front of me. And it was like somebody took a hammer and just hit me right here in my soul. That mountain spoke to me so deeply, and I didn't know why, but it was huge and heavy. And I remember that I went there to go to a group of shamans, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, I'm going to something else. It's called the Stargate." And for some reason, and again, these things come, and unless you answer the call, if you question it too long, you probably won't do it. But I did it. I said, "Okay, I'm in. Let's go and do this." And so I went to this thing called the Stargate meditation. And I was just drawn really into this Stargate meditation. And once getting involved in the energetics of the Stargate, and actually it was more than that, it was just doing nothing and feeling yourself move into this higher vibrational frequency. I never stopped. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I now have a center here where I am a Stargate facilitator. I facilitate Stargate meditations here twice, sometimes 3 times a month. And that is a Stargate behind me, I guess, this hand. Um, and that is something in itself that sometimes resonates with people and sometimes it doesn't. I also do drum circles here at my center because drumming is our original language. It's how we spoke. And believe it or not, the Native Americans were all connected to the galactics. I found this all out. At first, it was woo-woo to me also. But the more that I got into who I am and the magnificence of humans and what we're here to do, the more I had to keep going. And I still do daily, every day, because it's so much fun to learn. And let's see. How do you stay grounded and clear as you continue to grow spiritually? I have to say, that's very difficult because when you move into these higher realms, your consciousness is a bit different than your maybe other people that are still very grounded into what we call the 3D modality. And for them to try and understand what's happened to me, where I'm going, what I see, what I know, it doesn't really make sense to them. And yes, I would be called one of the woo-woo people. Others are. So to be grounded and connected to earth is sometimes difficult. But the thing that I understand that is most important from this is that this beautiful human body has been created to understand the higher consciousness. Because without this body, I would not have a mind to understand. I would not have a body to feel the beauty and the frequencies and the essences that come to me. I am an amazing being. And being grounded to earth, the energy of the earth, is what holds me and helps me to bring in the energies from above. As above, so below. So my body is a grounding rod in itself. And so I appreciate my body. And this is how I stay grounded to the earth so that I can experience the heavens above, if that makes sense to some. All right, where do we go here? Number 7. What's something you believe now that you didn't or couldn't believe before your journey began? Wow. Well, I have to say, it's kind of a funny thing, but even when I first started with Stargate meditations, I was very grounded to Earth. I knew about the fifth dimensional city of Telos, and I knew about many things that were revolving around Earth, but I was not so involved with the galactics, with the ETs, was with the cosmic beings. That was something that I had to learn about, and I have indeed learned about it and learned so much more. But I would have to say, according to this, um, that was the one thing that I really have learned about is is the galactic beings and who they are and how they've come here to help us. So I would say yes, the ascended masters and the benevolent galactic guides that are all around the earth right now here to help us. Yes, I welcome them. I've learned from them, but it wasn't something that came right away for me. It was something I had to learn. What does ascension mean to you personally? How would you describe it in your own words? Ascension, what does that mean? Very simply, what it means is that I believe that we came to this earth many, many years ago during the ancient continents of Lemuria and Atlantis, and we were high dimensional beings. We were capable of doing many things. We were given what many beings don't have in the galaxies, which is called a heart, love, compassion. We were given all these magnificent emotions, and we started using them and developing a lower frequency. We started moving into guilt and shame and comparison and want and coveting and all these frequencies that are not part of our original frequency that holds us to source. And when we started doing that, we dropped into what was called the human dark ages. Very dark. As we've seen, the history of humanity has gone from many golden ages. You know, the golden age of Isis, of Egypt, and the age of Lemuria and Atlantis, and even in South America, the Mayans. These ages were magnificent, but they all fell down and weren't able to sustain themselves. So now, again, humanity, after going through the dark ages, is scraping its way back towards the light again, to a new golden age is what we call it, to see that what has happened to us has not been anything we ever want to do again. It is still going on here in this country, in this world, in part of the human existence. But there are many people now that are saying that we don't want this anymore. We're really done. And these are the ones that are what we call the light workers, because they're here to share and bring in that energy vibration to help humanity ascend back into this fifth dimensional frequency that we originally always had. It's our blueprint, our original blueprint when we came here to Earth. So ascension to me is that struggle of letting go of all those old paradigms, beliefs, um, all the energies and frequencies of guilt and shame and blame, and following something that wasn't even us to find ourselves again and move into that bliss that we always were, and we still are. We've just forgotten. We've forgotten who we are. So ascension to me is moving back into that which we always have been. This is number 9. If someone watching this is just waking up or feeling lost, what would you say to them? Wow, that's a tough one because, that's very individual. There is a lot of people that are just waking up and feeling lost, and they come to my center often because they're so confused. And I would tell you in one word, community. It's very important that if you are feeling lost, you are feeling that I don't belong right now, there's something more for me, but I don't know how to get there, find a community. Find like-minded people that can support you, because we've all been on that path. We all are on that path. We are all supporting each other. And this is truly how humanity will ascend, is in a community, all of us together, holding hands and loving each other. Because as human beings, we're often going to fall. Yes, we're going to go back down where we've been. We're going to have those judgments. We're going to have criticisms. We're going to have those things that are not beneficial to staying in the light. But when we have a community around us that is holding the light for us, it's easy to move back there. It's easy to have friends of the same frequency that you can talk to, heart to heart, and feel the love where there is no judgment. There is only love. So I say to you, the most important thing about waking up, finding a community that will support you. Most important of all. And finally, we come to number 10. How would you complete this sentence? My story matters because just like your story matters. My story matters because I know there's many people like me. I did not have an easy childhood, and I could not go into detail about all the things that I've been through to get where I have been. Get to a place where you can love and appreciate your story. Love and appreciate that everything that happened in your life has brought you where you are now so that you can help others. We are here to assist. We are here to join. We are here to love one another because humanity is so separated. We've been so separated. And that's what keeps us in fear because we're so separated. We're listening to everyone and everything that is not ours. Come back into your heart. Come back into community. Feel the oneness. Feel the love. And that's my advice to everyone, truly, at this time. Find a community where you feel supported and loved. And at that point, you can find a way to allow love to come back to you. Because what's happened to us, so many of us, is when we get hurt, we shut down. We shut down the ability of our heart to receive. It's much easier to give love to others than it is sometimes to receive it in our own heart. So I say to everyone, find a community, find a place where you're able to give and receive love, because really that's all there is. If you're in a state of love and grace and bliss, there's no way that you would ever harm another. And that is, in totality, how we're going to change the earth. One human to another in love. So thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you with your story. And